Hi, this is Jim Gibson. Thank you for joining me today on my channel. And why am I in the back of my house? Well, I'm cleaning up some business records that I have had that are way out of date now and aren't necessary to hold on to. IRS only asks you to hold on to records, I think, for like 3 years. I've held on to them a lot longer than that, just in case. But now's the time to start cleaning up the business records. There's a lot of them. When you own a business of considerable size, you end up with a lot of business records. Would I do things differently today? Yes. Everything would be scanned and it would be in a computer. No more of this paper stuff. This paper stuff just costs too much and takes too much time, takes up space, things like that. But that's not what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about the business that I started. But first I want to show you some of the things that I've done so you can see. So this is like the third container, waste management container. The blue ones are recycle bin that I've been going through. There are some of the boxes. The boxes, some of them are back there. I had this whole place full of boxes. But you know, as I was tearing things up and shredding, not everything really requires that you shred things. I thought I would just share with you some of the profit that I made, just speak bluntly. About the profits that I made, and I thought I'd go through some of these with you, let you see some of the things. Like from here, Toshiba. This was a Toshiba account. That meant I sold to big corporations, and I would get commissions based on what I sold of Toshiba equipment. Now we did a lot more than just Toshiba equipment. This is just for one install. And so what date is this? One install. Come on. Oh, there it is. August 16th, 2014. And on that one install, I was credited $7,797. That's pretty small. Usually in a month, I'd get like 20 to 30, sometimes even 40, 50,000 for my installs, because we turned the company into a national account. And again, I'm just tearing up papers here. This is a $7,000 install. These are like, some of them are like really small. Is this the same thing? No, this is a different one. So that's another $7,000 install. And it just goes on and on and on. Sometimes I got more than that. I got what they would call both sides. So a lot of times I'd subcontract with another Toshiba dealer to do the installation for me. And as they're doing the installation, I'm paying them and Toshiba's paying them. And but if I do both the installation and it's to my customers, then I'm going to get a lot more. So let's see who this is for. Okay, so this is for Winco Foods, as you can see right there. We did tons of Winco Foods, tons of them, all over the United States. This is a profit and loss statement for that year, not probably my best year, but that's 9 months out of the year. So January 1st until October 9th. I don't know why I pulled this on October 9th, but I did. And the profit I had in those months were, what, $447,596 profit. Now I had a total cost of sales, which was $515,900 and something. I'm looking in the screen. It's kind of hard to see. But so if you look at it, I'm getting about a 45% profit, something like that. I made sure that I was getting decent profits. Here's a Toshiba check for, let's see, $22,000, and that was for 1 month's worth of work, I think. That was a little on the low side. I was getting, again, most checks were in the 30s, $40,000 or above. Now, I say all these things because I want to give you a little bit of assurance that I have credibility in this area. And the reason why I want to tell you that I have credibility, because, you know, I go a lot on the internet, and when I go, I hear people say different things about businesses, how to start businesses, things like that. And I don't know if they really know what they're even talking about, or if they ever had experience in starting a business. I started Nova Voice and Data, that is my logo, 30 years ago, in the 90s, late 90s. And Was it late 90s? No, late 80s. I started in late 80s, and I grew it to a national company. From day one, I planned to have a national company. From day one, that it was going to be something that was national. Even though I started locally, obviously you got to start locally. But I started it from day one that I was going to have a national company. And that's why I named it Nova, and I didn't name it Jim and Kathy's Interconnect Business. I wanted to name it something that if I went, when I went Nobel, or national, excuse me, when I went national, that it would be something that was not regional. So, cabling systems in Southern California. No, I didn't want that. I wanted the name to be something that meant nothing. Actually, Nova meant nothing to me. When I went to register, the first time I registered it in the county of Orange County, I was driving to the place to register my business, and when I did that, I actually couldn't even think of a name on the way. I was, thinking all different names, and I saw the back of a Nova car, and I said, yeah, that sounds futuristic, but it doesn't mean anything in reality. So I decided that would be the name of the company. But the interesting thing is, I started with zero amount of money. Zero. I mean, I may have had $10 in my pocket, but I started with nothing. Now, maybe I must have had like $25, $50 so I could register the company, but that was the only money I had. And I had to have it registered and stuff like that. So how did I start the company with no money, no advertisement, no anything actually, except for that, even that down payment to register the company, I think I already earned that money. And I'll tell you what I did. I remember I was standing in line at a bank, and there was a guy in front of me, and he was talking to his friend, and he's saying he was having trouble finding someone that could put in a fax jack for him. He needed this fax jack put in and everything else. And I said, hey, excuse me, sir. I said, I'm in IT. I work for Burlington across the street, Burlington Air Express. And I said, I can put that fax jack in for you. And he said, you can? And I said, yeah, I'd be happy to do it. What's your address? And he gave me his address. I said, I'll be over there this afternoon to put that jack in for you. Now, I had screwdrivers and pliers and wire cutters and stuff like that. And I had, I think, some jacks that left over from cabling my house. And I had a little bit of wire. And so I went to a friend because I didn't have any, what you call butt set, test set. I didn't have that, didn't have a tone and probe, things like that. It had nothing. Even though I knew how to use them, I had none of those tools. So I borrowed the tools from a friend, and I truly started Nova Voice and Data Systems with $0. I never went into debt, and I was always in the black, and I grew it from scratch all the way up to what it became, which is a multi-million-dollar national company. And it was fun doing it. Now, one of the things I worked on really hard was becoming a Toshiba dealer. And as Toshiba dealer was a big deal back then, Business Systems, Toshiba Business Systems it was called. And what I actually did was I installed phone systems, and then I started doing data network. And when I first started doing data network, it was still in what you would call ArcNet. It was coax cable looping around to each computer system. And that's what I started doing, and I started making money. I did it at night, things like that. I started building up my business, and just when it was going really well, I got activated for Desert Storm. Remember, I'm a former Marine captain. And that was the best year of my life. Really enjoyed it and everything else. But what it meant was I had to close down my business. So I had to give my business away to competitors. All of my customers went to friendly competitors, of which I never got them back. Had to start over again when I got back from Desert Storm. So you could say that I started with $0 down 2 times, and got to the point to where my company was making millions of dollars. And I challenge you. If you got a idea, a business idea, why don't you try $0 down? Figure out a way. You know what the problem is? I notice with a lot of people, it's not that they don't figure out ways to do things; they just don't think. How? how can I start it? They always think, well, I got to have a venture capitalist. No, you don't. But certain businesses maybe you do. I don't know. But in my business, I decided I wasn't going to go in debt because I just got out of debt big time, as you would see some of my other videos, rags to riches and things like that. So it took a lot to start a company with zero down, and twice. So when I got back from Desert Storm, I actually think by then I had my tools and I had some parts and stuff like that. But I started it up again, and I worked for a great company, Burlington Air Express. I had great bosses, really good bosses. A lot of people complain about their employers. If you don't like your employer, then quit. Go somewhere else, man. But I loved it there. It was good. It was a good job, and they were good people that I worked for. And they gave me time off. Sometimes I would take a day off, sometimes without much of a notice, because I told them, the system's down, I got to go somewhere. I never cheated them. I never worked on the clock for my business. But at lunchtime, I'd go make phone calls, things like that. And in the evening, I would install phone systems, computer networks, things like that. And I remember one time doing one at like 3 in the morning. There was no electricity in this warehouse. It was up in the city of industry up near LA, and I was in a bad neighborhood with a very interesting looking truck to people. It had a cap on it. In fact, it was a used cap I found on the side of the road somewhere on top of my Toyota pickup truck. But I remember working there, holding a flashlight in my mouth as I was punching down cables, things like that. And a lot of people say, well, it's not fair that people have all this money and business owners have this money. Something, I kicked butt, man. I kicked my own butt to start my business and to run my business and to keep it sound and safe. And there was a couple years, it was like a decade that I didn't go on vacation. And I took my vacation time working on the business. And I remember one time I had a customer that said, Jim, we're not going to employ you anymore. He was a Microsoft partner. He said, we're not going to employ you anymore. And I said, why? He goes, because you don't have any test equipment. I said, but it's all working, isn't it? And he goes, yeah, it always works. But it's something, I want to see something in writing that shows that the equipment is up to speed. I think back then it was 10 base 3 systems. And it was years ago. Anyway, it was an older system, and I don't even quite remember what it was. But I remember going to look for test equipment because I wanted to keep that customer. And the test equipment was going to cost $800. And guess what? The only money I had in my account was $800. And so that was the end of any vacation for that year. So I took the money, bought the test equipment, made sure I did not go in debt for anything. You don't want to start a business out being in debt. And you can start a business with no money down, because I actually did it at least once, if not twice. And I never was in the red. I was always in the black for the whole 30 years. Paid all my bills on time. I took care of all my employees, took care of their benefits, things like that as we grew. And as we became a national company, had many contractors, managed all those, made sure that they were doing a job that was fair to my customer, and made sure they did what was promised and on time. So we ran a really good company, it ran really well. However, and I knew this was going to happen, okay? Toshiba decided they no longer wanted to be in business telecom systems anymore. So they announced with about a 1-month warning that they were no longer going to sell their equipment to anybody, not just me, but it was to all the other dealers in the country also. So I knew this was happening. I knew Toshiba at that time was having some financial problems, and yet we worked really well with them. I got all the national awards, largest Toshiba dealer awards with government, with business, with I don't know, just about every group there was. I got the awards on it on a regular basis whenever they were giving them out, and did really well. Now, in that, I made one mistake, and I did one thing well. One mistake is that I had someone else who controlled my business, and the control that they gave me was Toshiba. They decided to go out of business, I was going to struggle. That was going to be it. And the technology was changing so quick from digital telephone systems to VoIP, and we were adjusting fairly quick as a company to that. I already knew all about VoIP systems and how they work and how they, how to put them on the desk and how to program them and everything else. But a lot of people were changing at that time from digital to VoIP, and Toshiba was not keeping up with the latest, greatest technology. So they decided to go out of business. So where I made my mistake was that I didn't prepare earlier for their departure from the industry. And I knew they were going to depart. I just knew it in my heart that this isn't going to last forever. And so I should have taken more precautions. But one precaution that I did take that was really great is I took all my excess cash. I lived in my same old budget that I lived with when I was working for Burlington Air Express, and I took the cash and I invested it in real estate. And so today I have rentals that pay me money, and I'm going to start another business. I'm a businessman. That's what my life is about, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I love starting businesses. I love running businesses, and I love technology, and I have 40 years experience in technology. And again, some people say, well, are you sure you're a salesman? Yeah, I know I'm a salesman and a technician. I do both, and a manager of a business. Yes, I have sold millions and millions of dollars worth of equipment all over the United States, and often it was in 1 year, that amount. So a couple $1 million a year or more, and tightly managed company. Everyone got paid, everyone had benefits, I had all the resources I need to run the company, so it was a good time. I hope if you decided you're going to start a business like this, you're an entrepreneur and you're going to start a business like this, that you listen to my videos. Please listen to my videos, because I've been through this. Doesn't mean I know everything, but I am the one with experience. I've seen too many good people who've decided that they're going to go into business and they're listening to their father-in-law who's never been in business themselves. It's always the father-in-laws, by the way. I had a salesman that said that to me. My father-in-law says I should be paid commission on the day of the sale. I said, well, work for your father-in-law. Another person said that they were going to start it because their father-in-law told them that they could make all this profit. And of course, both of them went out of business fairly quick. But to make a long story short, if you're thinking of starting a business, this is what this channel is all about. It's helping people start businesses. And it's not just IT businesses, because I'm going to be dealing with that too, because that's my specialty and that's where my passion is. But it's also, it's also going to be generally how to start a small business. Yeah, everyone likes a big corporation like Apple and stuff like that, but Apple was started in a garage. It was not, they did not have, $20-50 million from day one. They started in a garage, and they proved their ideas, they proved their standards, they proved their concepts, and then they naturally grew. So I am not an expert on borrowing money to start a business, because I never did it. But these are things that you should consider. Stick with me on this channel. I'm going to be talking about all these things. Maybe if I start to decide this year to start another business, it's not going to be in California. I guarantee you that. It's just not a business friendly. But if I do decide to start another business, I'll bring you on the journey. Lastly, if you're watching this, then please do me a favor. Subscribe. Subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and watch my other videos, and I would very much appreciate it. I also have another channel, cablesupply.com. That's my other business, where I sell IT parts for cable and mostly, but for other things in IT. So please check out my other channel, cablesupply.com, and it's on YouTube. Also, you can see some of the things I talk about when it comes to technology. And then at the also subscribe to this channel, give me a thumbs up. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for watching.